Now, what would you expect if you tripped up on a pavement and seriously injured yourself? Compensation perhaps, or maybe a simple sorry would suffice? Well, we've been told that one council leaves no stone unturned when it comes to fighting claims about its pavement potholes.
Can I have an ambulance, please? A woman's just fallen over.
A 999 call reporting a fall in Durham city centre.
The finger is pointing in the opposite direction.
In December 2010, Pauline Wilson trapped on a broken flagstone opposite the Gala Theatre.
I went flying forward at 3 operations trying to save the finger, but the 4th operation they decided they had to amputate it because of the pain.
So began a 5-year legal battle that Pauline says shames Durham County Council. And it also casts light on how councils can treat victims of negligence. We hear a lot about the compensation culture, spurious claims for fictitious injuries, but not so much about the fight for justice if you fall in the street. Now, we've been told that many councils will even rack up massive legal bills rather than admit they're wrong. Durham stands out, judging by the complaints we've heard. Pauline says she tripped on this 2-inch deep gap. She wanted it repaired and arranged to meet a council inspector.
First words to me were, I suppose you're looking for a broken paving slab, are you? You know, an abrupt manner to me.
So he thought you were trying it on?
He thought we were trying it on, basically, yes. And I said, no, I'm not. I know exactly where I fell. It made me feel, you know, like a criminal, really, you know. He said, I suppose you'll be consulting a solicitor now. Well, yeah, and, you know, that was never on my mind. You know, I never even thought about that.
So what did his attitude make you want to do?
Well, it made me consult a solicitor, basically. I was quite cross about it.
That attitude was to cost around 100 grand in an out-of-court settlement, according to Pauline's solicitor. Many times more than Pauline's small amount of compensation. Durham isn't alone in paying out these eye-watering sums. Between 2012 and 2015, 6 councils paid compensation and legal fees totalling more than £2.5 million. Between 2013 and 2015, 2 others, North Tyneside and Cumbria, paid more than £1 million. Councils don't have to pay out if they can prove the footpath was regularly inspected and the damage was recent, or the gap was less than around 20 millimetres, or it was the claimant's fault. Pauline's case shows how the odds can be stacked against the claimant. Her solicitor says the council used the 999 call to prove Pauline had slipped, not tripped. So it was her fault.
Didn't you ask her how she felt? Did she just slip or did she feel dizzy? She just slipped.
The thing is, if I listen to the full recording, you can hear Pauline actually being physically sick because she's clearly in a state of shock and not in the right frame of mind to actually explain, well, this is exactly what's happened to me.
They claim these warning signs were in place when Pauline fell in December. She disagrees.
The signs weren't up, no, they weren't up till the end of February, those signs, because I took a photo of them when they was put up.
Then she says they set the doctors on her.
And I was sent down to Doncaster to see an orthopaedic consultant there, and also a clinical psychologist, you know, as if they were checking my state of mind, basically. It had really knocked me for 6.
Pauline's experience wasn't a one-off. Anne Cleave's case may have cost Durham around 80 grand in legal fees and compensation. She broke her leg after tripping on a pothole in Spennymoor for the 2nd time in 5 years.
Foot folded up under me, broke my leg, dislocated my ankle, and a metal plate put onto my leg to secure the 2 bones. It split down the length of the bone.
The council claimed the hole had been repaired, but had no records to back that up.
Disgraceful. Like you're a non-human, I think, in the eyes of the council.
Kay Diath tripped on a raised flagstone at Wingate and injured her back. Durham said its measurement showed it was safe. In fact, it hadn't measured it at all.
They specifically said it had been measured at between 10 and 15 millimetres. And when we got to court, the gentleman who was the actual inspector on the floor, the gentleman said, I assessed it. He didn't measure it, he assessed it.
In other words, he just looked at it. The judge was enormously concerned that the council's claim was untrue. K1. Lawyers say they've repeatedly seen paperwork showing Durham's records aren't up to scratch. Pauline's case stands out. By coincidence, her fall happened at roughly the same time and place as another of her lawyer's clients. Now, the same inspection reports applied to both. They should have been identical. They weren't.
We can clearly see, one here. On this document, there's a date crossed out which looks like 7th of the 11th, 11, and then the date written in of 9th of August 2010, and it's even in a different coloured pen. The categories of defect are added in, it's dated and signed, whereas on this one here, no date, no signature, no categories of defects. In total, I think there were 22 changes to the inspection records. If the claimant had done this to the council would have been saying this is fraud.
Between April 2012 and the end of last year, Durham paid out more than 300 grand in compensation, but it racked up a total bill of $1 million in legal fees. The council won't comment on individual cases. It stands by its system. We're told you're using tricks, in effect, to fight cases.
Well, firstly, I think we'd refute the things that you've said there. We don't go about these underhand ways. We judge it on the facts, and we don't want to sort of discourage genuine claims.
A pensioner who lost a finger as a result of a fall on one of your pavements. She's then forced to go and see a clinical psychologist.
We're sorry that anybody's had a
But even in
a
principle,
slip,
does that
trip, or
sound
fall.
right to you? In principle?
I really don't know the circumstances in relation through to what you've described there. We're sorry for anybody that's had a slip, trip or fall. We've had 44 since 2014 of times we've needed to go to a court. And you could well argue, well, we'd be wasting money if we lost all 44 of those, and we don't. We've won 37.
If documents from two very similar cases should have presented identical evidence from you, and they've clearly not the same,
yes,
would that concern you?
Well, from what you've said, quite clearly it would concern us. We would need to look at the detailed circumstances in relation through to it. There might be an explanation. We think that by and large, we have really sound systems. If there's issues that we need to learn from, then we'll absolutely learn from them.
For people like Pauline, the fight for compensation may be about to get tougher. The government is now considering a change, and that could mean cases like Pauline's may never get off the ground. At the moment, if you win compensation of £1,000 or more, you can ask for your legal fees to be paid. But they want to raise that threshold to £5 grand, and that could put many people off. In a statement, the Ministry of Justice said it was planning to raise the limit to tackle high insurance premiums caused by fraudulent and exaggerated whiplash claims by motorists. It would consult in due course on the types of cases affected by this change. We've uncovered worrying evidence about Durham's inspection reports and how it treats claimants. The council says it has a robust and fair system. The legal bill is enormous, and if the changes that are proposed go through, then Durham could pay out less in future. But is that at the expense of justice for those who are injured? What's the state of the pavements where you live? And if you had a fall, did you get anywhere with the local council? Let me know. On Twitter, my hashtag is InsideOutCJ, or email me, chrisjackson@bbc.co.uk. Is modern art